Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today, well, to be honest, I wasn't meant to be making a video on that, finally backing up that hard drive for the Siemens, industrial 386 portable computer that I'm messing about with. Unfortunately, my bridge PC up in my office that had all set up ready to do it has decided to throw a wobbly, basically. I think it's the RAM chips, the RAM module's gone in it. It gets, basically you fire it up, it boots up, well, it tries to boot up, it comes to the memory test and freezes. If you leave the computer about 20 minutes it then just boots up, but it's not really usable for what I want to do in that state, so I'm postponing that until I can actually take some time to have a proper diagnosis for that computer and find out what's wrong with it. So what I thought we'd do, this is that Mitac laptop I picked up at the car boot sale last week for £3. Now, I said in my car boots pickups video, this thing is most likely just a spare parts machine. It's a very nice compact little kind of sub-notebooky kind of laptop. What, about a 10-inch screen there, nice keyboard, really nice little trackpad there, trackball that I like. Very much in similar kind of guise to my twin head. This is also completely knackered. Very similar kind of idea. This is nicer, being that it's got a slightly bigger screen and what have you. Unfortunately, that really is components that have dropped off the board inside that. But unfortunately I think this has suffered basically exactly the same fate. These have an internal barrel battery very much like the Amiga 500 Plus. Over the years that'll have broken down and leaked, and I think it's probably pretty much destroyed this computer inside. But that's what we've come here to have a look at today. What I thought we would do, I've got my screwdrivers out, is we'll crack into it first. I'm not just going to put power in it and see if something's going to happen to it. Potentially could just have something very simple in there that's shorting out. We could saw it and possibly get this working, but that's very, very, very doubtful, I will say. The other reason being is I'm not 100% sure what the polarity on the socket there is yet. It doesn't seem to be marked anywhere on the bottom of the computer. I do fortunately have, I made this up when I was playing with that old Toshiba laptop, and it's the right connector to actually fit. So we do have a way of putting power into it if we get that far. We'll have to obviously just lash something up. I don't have the correct power supply for this, but we've got something that's going to be close enough. It needs what? According to this, it needs 17 volts at 1.3 amps. We can get close enough to that. We can get to about 17 volts, just over that. I've got plenty of power supplies that should be able to do that. Right, so, but before we get that far, we'll crack into it and then we can use the multi-tester and actually just make sure that, that centre pin's positive, because we don't know, it could be centre pin's negative, we want to really find that out, and we also want to see quite how bad the corrosion in there is going to be. So, quick slurp of some coffee. We'll break out the screwdrivers. First off, oh, incidentally, what I have discovered, I haven't given you a model number on this thing yet. This is a Mitac model 4023, and I believe it's a 486. Well, we know it's a 486 because it's got an FFC ID of EJHLP 486. So we've got a potentially, if it was working, rather nice little 486 laptop, but I said our chances of getting this working are going to be very, very, very slim. But then again, for £3, you buy it for the fun at £3, don't you? There's still probably parts that are worth keeping off this for £3. Okay, we've got the battery pack. That doesn't seem to have leaked, from what I can see. There's a little bit of green corrosion there on that So the positive connection, I'm not sure, it'll probably most likely be. But it doesn't seem to be leaking terribly. That'll have NiCad cells in it. It's possible we might be able to rebuild it if it's completely dead, but yeah. Let me get that out from. In fact, that could be a way of powering this thing if nothing. Oh, you do have some horrendous. Yeah, this thing's going to be bad. That connector there is just. That's one of the battery connectors. That's just rotted off the board. Completely rotten. Still may be able to solder a wire onto there. It needs about 8.4 volts to power it, so we could possibly, like I've done in the past, power it off a drill battery or something like that. I can see even more corrosion down there. Right, let's see if we can get the hard drive out. I mean, to be honest, at £3, if the hard drive works, and it's, you know, a nice useful size, which it should be, 100 or so megabytes, 200 megabytes or something, that's worth the £3. Okay. And I think we do have like a fairly standard ID hard drive in here. See if we can get this connector off without doing any damage. There we go, let's see. There we go. And out comes the hard drive. That's a chunky old 2.5-inch hard drive. It's almost as thick as, well, it's as thick as some modern 3.5-inch hard drives. And I'm talking spinning hard drives, not SSDs. Right, so we've got a Seagate ST9546A. So how large is that? That is, oh wow, it's actually a reasonable size, that. That is a 540 megabyte 2.5-inch hard drive, so that would have been an expensive hard drive back in the day. Especially for, like, you know, Mitac. This is not a. I'm wondering if that's actually an upgrade. That was not the original hard drive that would have gone in this. Anyway, let's see if we can get some of these plastics off and see quite how bad that corrosion has got inside. It really helps if I put the screwdriver bit in the right way around. Right. That's our PMCA slot. So it's quite a nice, well kitted out laptop. You know, it would be a useful laptop to have. It has a PMCA slot there. I do have other laptops with that. Right, let's have a look. Oh dear, that one's going to be a pain. Is that one going to be a pain? Yes, that one's going to be a pain. What else have I got that can go in them holes? Aha! We'll go old school. That one's got that one out. That's that one out. Best I'm putting the screws somewhere safe or else I'm going to lose them. That one's out there. Two more screws in there. And does that. Right, we've got them all out now. Let's tip that upside down so you can get the rest of them screws out. Nothing in there. Come on. They're being stubborn and staying in. Oh, there, that one's out. That one's out. Come on, you. Out you come. And hopefully, that must be clipped together as well. Let's see what we can get. We can unclip that one. We're not going to damage the plastics. Ooh, what have we got? What have we got up there? Should have some plastic spudges in here. There we go, it's starting to give now. There we are. And we're in. Right, oh dear. I can see the corrosion already, can you see it? Oh, ooh, this is going to be bad, I think. Oh, I don't know. Right. Oh, it's terrible down there. Right, let's get the keyboard disconnected so we don't damage that. But I can see a horrendous amount of corrosion in one corner, and it's right where the backup batteries are. I'm pretty sure this thing is not going to be savable. Right, that's the keyboard disconnected. That is our inverter there. We could do with disconnecting that as well. Let's see how far we can get this back. You're seeing this corrosion here. All this here. It's actually got a piece of the... this has been dropped obviously at some point. We do have some physical damage in here as well. We've got all the corrosion. You can't see it, it's just off camera here, but there's I'll show you when we've got this thing into a state where we can work on it. Right, let's... Which part of the computer is that connected to? That's connected to the bottom, so we need to unplug that, I think, which is our backlight. And then we have a connector there, which I'm guessing is the monitor. Now it looks very, very corroded on that side. I'm wondering if I can disconnect it off the screen. Yes, I have. And we also have this connector here, which again is for the, I think that's the screen. Oh, that one will be the trackpad then, for that one. This one here is the screen. Let's very gentle, see if we can tease that out. I know on that twin head, this actually, when I tried to disconnect it, the entire thing just fell off the board. And I can see a lot of corrosion around it on this one, but we've got to get that out. There, it's starting to come now. I've got, so we can walk it back in a little bit. There we go, got it. Nearly. There we go. Right, that's off. We've got one last connector there. Let's see if we can disconnect that. Single, probably the speaker or something. There we go, right. Put that down. And this gives you an idea of what the corrosion's like. But corrosion all along there. I believe that might have come from the actual battery gassing out. And then this is the absolute horror, is all this here. You can make that out there. All that there basically is a result of that, which is the barrel battery. Now it's not exactly the same as the one used in an Amiga, but it's essentially the same thing. It's just in an Amiga those are stacked one on top of each other. In this one they've actually been put side to side to make it a thin unit, but it's exactly the same, you know, internal chemistry and everything in there, and that's what's leaked. That's what's caused not as much damage as I was expecting, but then again we haven't seen the other side of the board yet. But I'm wondering if I can just literally just wobble that and break that off the board so we can see how bad the corrosion is underneath it. I think that's coming. Alright, no, so obviously that's I don't know what that is for then, because our trackpad's still down there on the okay, let's do a little bit more wood. There we go. That I think is breaking free now. It's actually harder to get off than a normal barrel battery, because you can't get your snips in and just snip it off the board. I think it's just going to be a case of just whittling it like this until it breaks free, and then I can pull it off the board. Otherwise, if it won't, we'll have to wait till we get the board out and I can desolder it. Those are part of the case. We'll take them off now so we don't break them. I was actually expecting to see a lot more damage on this board than I can see now. There we go, that's it gone. There we go, it's off. Yeah, and that is basically what has caused all the carnage. Let me get you down here, let me see if I can zoom you in so you can actually see quite how bad. Right, where are we now? Let me see what I can do here. There we go. Right, so as we can see, I'm actually amazed it's not worse than that. Get my spectacles on. There is a lot of corrosion though down here. I'm pretty sure there'll be bad traces and all sorts. That switch does still function. I believe that there is the power switch. That soft button there just off shot is the power switch. There's got a lot of corrosion, you can see down there in that connector there. It's pretty bad. It's not as bad as I was expecting. It's going to be a hell of a long shot, but there may just be a very slim chance we can get this working. In fact, let me just get a little bit of IPA. I'll give that a soak down. There's my softest toothbrush. That's a nice soft one. Yeah. Actually, there's a piece of plastic there over some of those. Let's see if I can lift that off. I'll go back in there. The problem with this is it's all surface mount stuff. That's the one thing when you get leakage on like this on something like a 500 plus. Excuse me. You at least have the chance that most things are through hole. It's also a lot easier to actually find broken traces. I'm pretty sure this will be like a 4-layer board, even more maybe. And if you've got this corrosion's got in between the layers and caused damage, then it really will be game over. Also, the chance of getting a schematic for something like this is pretty much zero as well. You know, the 500 plus, the Amiga, all the Amigas are incredibly well documented from your schematics, board views, stuff like that. When you're working on these old laptops like this, you have no, really you don't have any schematics, you have nothing to work from like that. You are working a little bit more blind. But that doesn't look horrendously terrible. I've seen a lot worse. Give them switches a bit of a work over. Let me get you zoomed out again. There we go. Right, and what we could do now is it'd be nice to ascertain what the polarity on that connector is, just in case we feel brave enough to perhaps see if we can give this thing some power and see if it actually does anything. Right, where is my tester? Okay. Get a tester in, just make sure that that's working okay. Right, now if we go to the outer part of the connector in there, can you see what I'm doing here? But you can't, no. Right, there you can now. So basically I'm going on to the outer part of the connector there, and I'm going to find something which should be ground. There we go, and we've got basically got no ohms between there and there, so we have got a centre positive on that, which is excellent. I've got this wire, let me just make sure we'll check which way this is wired while we're here. We're going from there to there. That's okay, yep, so that's wired centre positive as well, excellent. So if we do actually get this thing back together, we may stand a chance of seeing if it'll do anything at all. I will put that to one side for now. It's actually cleaned up reasonably well. There is a hell of a lot of corrosion around that point, but it's a lot better than I was actually expecting. I very much doubt this thing is just going to power up and work, but you never know. We actually have, I'm pretty much guessing that must be the CPU there. So this thing has got the potential that we could possibly upgrade it. I don't know what CPU it's got in it, but yeah, we've just got a standard 486 CPU by the look of it there, with a heatsink kind of like very poorly bodged onto it. Obviously I don't think we'll be able to go too mad because of the heat, and I don't think we'll be able to put a big heatsink on or anything, but it might be possible to do something. Again, the rest of this does not look terrible. There is a lot of our favourite capacitors there, these little surface mount electrolytics. The solder on them looks really nice and shiny. We also have some of those. Does this just pull off, or do we have to take some screws out? We have to take some screws out, don't we? There's some other surface mount electrolytics down here as well. I'm guessing that's all part of the charge, so, the battery DC to DC converter to provide the power. Some have a little bit of ick on this. In fact, let's fire up the soldering iron and we'll give it a smell test and see if we smell some fish or not. Right, where is the power switch on here? You can tell it's been ages since I've been doing anything in the workshop. There it is. Right, let's get the soldering iron warmed up. We'll do a quick smell test down there, see if we can smell anything fishy. Anyway, let's have a, while the soldering iron warms up a bit, let's have a look at the lid. And I said that's the horror there. That. Oops, right, this is going to be a problem. I'm going to have to put my hand there, or else the camera's going to autocorrect because it's too bright. But as you can see, this has basically all been coated with a metallic coating on the inside. RF shielding, basically. You can see all this green here. That is where the basically where that battery's leaked. It's reacted with the plating on the inside there. That's what's turned all that green there. So that's all corrosion. This must be basically like a copper coating, because that's very typical of copper damage. It going that horrible green colour there. We also have a broken off standoff there, but that should be fairly easy to sort out, to glue back. And probably glue that back in place, no problem like that. But we will have to do something about all that horrendous corrosion. We have the little buttons to go back in it. Right, the soldering iron should be warmed up a bit now. Let's go down here. I'm just going to warm up the board round. Yeah, straight away I've got a strong fishy smell, so we've definitely got capacitor issues round that part of the circuit there. I'm hoping, actually, yeah, that all seems to be to do with the battery. This side here, and we've got our switching transformer there. I'm tempted to give it some power and basically put it back together and give it some power and see if it does anything at all. If it does, whoop-de-doo. If not, I suppose in the next video we'll be pulling this thing completely apart. We'll check everything around there a little bit more thoroughly. We'll have to bite the bullet and probably change some of the capacitors around here and see if we can get any more life out of it. But it's actually not as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting there to be parts actually dropping off the board, pretty much as, you know, my twin head one there. I said literally the battery corrosion was so bad in that, you know, when I tried to pull that connector off, the connector just came off the board with it. Resistors and parts were just falling off the board with the corrosion. It may be that we've actually just caught this one in time. Anyway, what I'll do, I don't want to bore with, you've already seen me pull this thing apart. I'm going to basically put it back together mostly. We'll see about lashing some power up to it and see if it actually does anything at all. So I'll be back in a sec. Right, okie dokie, I've got it all back together. One nice thing I found while I was actually reassembling is the keyboard. These little clips here actually comes out of the case without taking the whole case apart, so you can actually access the CPU and things like that just by unclipping the keyboard, which is kind of cool. Anyway, I've got that cable I showed before hooked up, and we've got about 17.5 volts centre positive barrel ground, which is what we ascertained this thing wants. Now, I haven't got the hard drive in it. I've got the hard drive on the side here, and we don't have the battery in it for obvious reasons. That has obviously leaked. That's no good. I've not bothered putting, obviously we've got that broken standoff, I've just left that out for now. That's there, and the screw for it, I'll put them in a little bag and keep them safe. Because I don't think this is going to do anything now. I'm going to put some power up it and see if we get any signs of life out of it. Because I'm not expecting. I'm expecting we'll have to do another video on this and we'll completely tear the whole computer down just to the main board. We'll see about changing those capacitors in the power supply section. There's definitely some leaky surface mount electrolytics in there. And we'll actually do some closer look at the actual main corrosion damage on the main board. But it isn't as bad as like I said, I was initially thought it might be. But let's just give it a quick bit of power and see if it is actually, are we going to get any signs of life out of it. Now, I would have hoped, I'm just going to push that in and out a couple of times just to see if there's any corrosion on there. Right, okay. Now, I was hoping we'd get something like a green LED coming up on there. That's obviously what that smaller of the two connections we had was. Try power, and no, it's stone dead. Let's unplug it again. So we don't want, obviously we don't want to be putting power into something that's dodgy like that. So that is where we're at now. Let's just get that disconnected so we don't want that shorting out anything. It's not actually, like I say, it's not as bad. I thought this thing would be absolute no hope at all. I thought this thing would be a complete basket case. I wasn't expecting a 500 meg hard drive either. I was expecting something, you know, 120 meg, something like that. So either this is a higher spec laptop than I initially thought, which I can't see with it being in a Mitac, or someone took the trouble to actually put a bigger, beefier hard drive in it. I'm trying to actually see if there's a date on that. I can't actually see a date on the hard drive at the moment. I'll have to look it up and see if I can find out when that was made. No, I can't actually see a date on it. But we can put that into another computer anyway, and we can see if we can get that to fire up outside of this computer and see if there's anything interesting on it. But yeah, at least we've seen inside it, we've seen what the actual condition of it is. I don't know when I'm actually going to start poking into this thing, to be honest, because I have got other projects in the pipeline. It was just a case of, like I said, I was planning to do that video on them backing up that hard drive from the Siemens, but seeing my bridge PC has decided to misbehave, I'll put that on hold until I can sort the bridge PC out. The curiosity basically just got the better of me on this thing. I think we will actually try and see if we can get this firing up and working. Like I said, the corrosion isn't as bad as I initially thought it was going to be. It's still bad, but what we'll have to do, like I said, we'll pull the board out, we'll do some work on the capacitors in that section, because that's probably the reason, possibly the reason why it's not actually powering up, if the power supply can't actually start up due to those capacitors and we're just not getting anything onto the board. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there for now. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video, at least having a initial look over this Mitac 486. So we've got a Mitac, what did I say the model number was? It's a 4023 486. So we're not 100% sure what the CPU in is it yet. It's probably going to be like an SX25, SX33 or something like that. But we'll possibly also have the potential of putting something a little bit quicker in there. You never know. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Hope you enjoyed this, let's call it initial overview of this thing. And like I said, next time we will see if we can perhaps delve into this thing a little bit further. So I will say thanks for watching and goodbye.